Casper, welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here. Again, like with Raf, we know you for quite a while, so we know exactly what you do at the moment, and also what you've done in the past. But to start off, could you start by telling us who you are and what it is exactly that you do?
Yeah, of course. So I am Casper. Thanks for the introduction. And I am working as a head of partnerships and brand advocacy for Pernod Ricard Benelux. And Pernod Ricard is a global-oriented spirit company with brands like Absolut vodka, Jameson, Beefeater, Malibu, etc., etc. And as head of partnerships, I'm responsible for all on-trade marketing, so all the horeca marketing, building brands within our target audiences. And for lifestyle festivals in the bigger sort, because my sort of team is doing the smaller festivals and the smaller places, and I'm doing on-trade groups, lifestyle projects, for example, with Havana Club and an artist, and the bigger festivals like introduced also an introduction with Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell.
Yeah. Obviously, this talk is mainly about diving into such a partnership to discover what it takes, how does it sort of arise, and what does your road to Tomorrowland looks like in a way. But could you start by how do you get to this position?
So I think obviously you have to have a feeling with festivals or horeca / on-trade from the beginning. That can start with a hotel school, or that can start with family or whatsoever. Because you need to sort of have the affinity and the feeling with a spirit to know what a brand is all about.
Yeah.
And then, or at least my path was that I was started working in events, and I saw brand activations, and I saw reasons why brands were activating at certain places or specific place to get in touch with a specific target audience. And then I thought that, of course, you always think that you can do something better, but I thought that would be cool for something for me, because I really like to identify myself with brands, and I really love it to let's say, take two brands and see what they have in common, or especially not have in common, and try to find a way between those two. So from that part, you can start easy as just applying for a job as a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
It's something else. As a brand ambassador, you are sort of the face of a brand, which means that you only have to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I started as a brand ambassador purely for Absolut.
A little step back. Was this in line with what you studied?
Yeah, it was completely in line with what I studied. It was not that
Because what did you study?
I did a hotel school, private hotel school, and with a minor in marketing, and another minor which I even don't remember anymore, but that's fine. The minor marketing was really something what sort of helped me by looking into what a brand or building a brand is all about. And I am not that marketing guy or that brand manager, which is in the office, making presentations, working with budgets in Excel all the time. I really want to do something with my hands and want to feel the market. So in line with your question, yeah, it is not where you sort of study for, but it's very easy from a hotel school perspective to do and work with spirit brands. And you see that, for example, with Heineken. A lot of people in Heineken come from the hotel school or NIMA studies or whatsoever. And you see that Pernod Ricard as well. Our brand managers and our on-trade team are, well, not all of them, but a lot of them did the hotel school. So it's an easy step to have on one side the brand management part, so learning about marketing and brands, and on the other side that link with festivals, events, horeca.
Yeah, so you at a young age had a lot of experience in horeca.
Yeah.
Also because with your family, you did the study. Was that your first job, brand ambassador, Pernod Ricard?
After my study, no. After the hotel school, you think that you're going to be that big guy at BMW or at Ferrari or whatsoever. Nothing of that is true. You really have to sort of look to yourself and just start in a specific industry what you like, and then in that industry try to find your way and try to find your path. So what I did, I started in a outsource / resource company for football stadiums. And to explain that, in football stadiums you have VIP boxes, and VIP boxes need staff, and staff needs to be trained, and they need to know what kind of people are in the VIP boxes, and etc. etc.
Yeah.
So that's where a bit my path started. And during my study, I always worked as a cocktail shaker for a cocktail outsource hospitality catering company, which called Fabulous Shaker Boys. And after, or at least when I was working as a resource manager for it, the company was 68 Degrees. It was part of Maison van de Boer, the biggest caterer maybe even in the Netherlands, I'm not sure. They asked me to be event manager for all their business to business and business to consumer events at the Fabulous Shaker Boys. So I did that. I made that step. I worked there for 2.5 years. Really get to know the spirit industry. And then from that part, I wanted to do something more with marketing, but not as a brand manager, but just a bit more in a marketing company. So I started at the brand activation company called Guest. And after 9 months, Pernod Ricard asked me to be their brand ambassador for Absolut. Just in that part, purely focused on nightlife. And now, yeah.
Why did they ask you, or how did they get to know you, for example?
So the company I worked for was doing also the activations for Havana Club.
Ah, there we go.
And the former brand ambassador who was at that spot, Tom de Jong, you know him as well. He was going away to, I don't know what the music company was. No,
Yeah,
never
to
mind.
spin in.
To spin in.
Yeah.
So that spot came free. On one side, the HR person over there just called me because they heard my name and they knew that I was doing events and I was very active in nightlife and etc. etc. So I was sort of their profile. But I worked at Guest just for 8 months at that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't at that moment that I thought, okay, I already want to leave.
Yeah.
But also a friend of mine, Naomi Rijssel, worked there as a sales rep. So literally being a sales representative for the brands in the on-trade. And she said, we need you. We need someone who knows the nightlife, who knows how to move in nightlife, how to build brands in nightlife, because it's in the night, it's something different, but that's maybe probably for later. And then I thought, okay, a coffee can do nothing wrong.
No.
And 24 hours later, I signed a contract.
Yeah.
So
That's quick.
yeah, it was really quick.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And now still at Pernod Ricard?
Still at Pernod Ricard. I was a brand ambassador for, I think, 1.5 years or a year.
Yeah.
And then from brand ambassador, they started sort of throwing more brands at me because they saw that they saw the positive side and the results on Absolut in nightlife.
Yeah.
So they thought, okay, we can also try to let Casper do a gin brand, which has in a daily basis or a day schedule another drink moment. So you drink gin earlier than vodka, for example. So I started with a gin brand called Beefeater, and then it was Monkey 47 attached to that as well. Then Havana Club came aside, and then in the end I had 8 brands, and then they changed my function to brand activation manager because there's a big difference between a brand ambassador and brand activation manager.
Well, what is the difference?
As a brand ambassador, you're the face of a brand, the first contact for most of the people for that brand, but especially focused on getting people in touch with literally the spirit in their hands. So glass in hand moments is one of the most important things for a brand to build in an activation, is that people have your drink in their hand, hopefully with a logo or a straw or whatever, because that's the most important touch point, is somewhere close to your body.
Yeah.
So, and as a brand activation manager, you are more working between sales and marketing, where you also make deals, you also have your own budgets, you also have your own responsibilities.
Yeah.
You have to make deals with internal guys, like with brand managers and sales representatives and whatsoever, but also external. So you can't really be a brand ambassador at that time, because as a brand ambassador, it's not your responsibility to talk about money.
Yeah.
That's just literally what it is. And then from brand activation manager, it was a bit too much, so they cut the job in 2, and then we had 2 brand activation managers in the Netherlands. And then the company had a reorganization where the Netherlands and Belgium were becoming one market. And then I jumped in with an idea. We have to make the advocacy department, or at least the brand activation department, also a Benelux department, because I think that we can learn a lot from the countries, because even that it's so close, it's literally so different, the Netherlands and Belgium, but that's something.
How
maybe
does it
for later.
differ?
Sorry?
How does it differ? Because I can imagine, especially the northern part of Belgium, might sort of at least sound the same as the Netherlands. But is the culture different? Is nightlife different there?
Yeah, nightlife is totally different. But from a culture perspective, the strange thing is with Belgium is that you have, of course, Belgium is a sort of divided in two countries. So you have two Antwerp and a bit below Antwerp, and then you have Brussels and then the rest.
Yeah.
The good thing for me is that when I got that job to be the head of partnerships for the department for the Benelux, is that COVID started at that time, which is strange to say because COVID was no fun for anybody.
No.
But I literally had the time to see how people react, because my idea was, I was successful with my job in the Netherlands, and I thought we're gonna copy that in Belgium.
Yeah.
But it's so different. It's really really different. So we sort of had to make two departments report to one person, but with two total different way of works.
Yeah.
Sorry. What is the difference in that way of works?
The big change is that we have a very different drinking culture, which means Dutchies we're not used to drink during the day. For example, we drink after work. Sometimes at 4 or 5 you open a beer, but that's already quite early.
Yeah.
In Belgium, it's really normal to have lunch outside of the door, no matter what kind of job you have. If you have an office job or a job like me, outside of the door, bottle of wine or a spirit aperitif. They call it an apero, which is can be anything, gin tonics or whatsoever. But it starts at 12 or 12:30.
Crazy.
And that's really a culture thing, and that comes a bit from the French background, because in France it's the same.
Yeah.
But that is such a big. We had it yesterday. We had a managers meeting yesterday in Zeeland with 3 Dutchies and 3 Belgian people, and the Dutchies were already there. We had a coffee and a Diet Coke or whatsoever. And the Belgian people came in and he said, "Okay, can I have a Havana Club and Coke? And what do you want? A Jameson and Coke and Lillet for him." I was like, "Guys, man, it's 12:15. Take it easy, man." But for them, it's so normal to have that just in their sort of common sense. And also what you see in Belgium, I think because of that, they're very easy and very relaxed, which means when they go for lunch like for 1.5 hours or 2 hours, which means they're not stopping at 5 or 6. They always work till 7 or 8. So their work culture is also very different because of that.
Yeah.
How does the difference resemble to creating a brand activation in the Netherlands, or for example at Tomorrowland, which is obviously international, but it's in Belgium?
It depends a bit what kind, what the activation is about, and a bit also what the objective is of the activation. When you just have a simple bar activation to create a glass in hand moment, that's everywhere the same. Yeah. Because you have a certain event of a launch of a sneaker whatsoever, you place a bar with nice drinks, everybody likes it. It's for free, get drunk, fun. You build a brand because they get in touch with your brand, they will remember it from home, etc., etc. From a more experienced way perspective, in Belgium there's a lot easier way to activate your brand. Why? Because they have a bottle culture there, which means it's very normal as all of us or as students, they come to a club, they order a bottle of vodka for 100 euros, whatsoever, with sodas, they drink of it all night, and then you're out. But the moment of having that bottle towards that people, that's for us a very special, or at least special is not the right word, but it's a good moment to get in touch. Why? You can put lights, you can put fireworks, and of course in the Netherlands we don't like that, but Belgian people love it.
And is that the same, for example, at Tomorrowland, where the target audience is way more international than only Belgian people?
It is funny with Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is literally the only festival in the world, maybe, with this. No, it is the only festival in the world with this many different cultures, which means that we use Tomorrowland not as a festival. Tomorrowland for us is a sort of world. It's a bit like when you go on holiday and you get behind border control, border security.
Yeah.
That's a different world. You see different products, you see different bottles, you see different cigarettes. Nothing what you're used to in a normal place, because it is literally another world. And that's a bit how we look into Tomorrowland, because Tomorrowland is unlabelable. You can't label Tomorrowland, and you can't really label the target audience at Tomorrowland, because you have 89 different nationalities at this moment. And now 3 weekends, they're gonna do 270,000 people.
That's a lot.
And also online, it's the number one biggest online event in the world, 5 times bigger than the Olympics on
crazy.
online traffic. So
crazy, man.
it's not that we work with Tomorrowland purely to build our brand. It's also just to show the world that we have one of the biggest motherfuckers in our portfolio.
Yeah.
And what is an example of something that you do or activate at Tomorrowland then?
So Pernod Ricard is the owner of all of our brands, and the biggest brands have sort of their own marketing company. So for example, Absolut still has the Absolut company, which are responsible for the strategy of Absolut. Havana Club has Havana Club International based in Paris, and they're responsible for the global marketing of Havana Club.
Yeah.
Because of Tomorrowland and their bigness in nationalities and the sort of power they have in festival industry, these brand owners are looking into ways to get in touch via Tomorrowland at their target audience. Absolut, for example, this year making a limited edition bottle, again with Tomorrowland and then the Tomorrowland slogan. This year it's United We Dance. And this year, for the first time, we collaborated with 6 artists at Tomorrowland, all from a LGBTQ, queer, diverse, whatsoever background. And at their moment of playing time, we sort of change also the podium and the look and feel, and we have other loops at the narrow casting screens and the LED screens, and just to let people know, okay, we as Absolut support these diverse LGBTQ whatsoever. And then from Havana Club, that's something totally different, because Havana Club is now focusing on rap, hip hop, etc., etc. Tomorrowland is not sort of the festival go-to for a rap festival or for a rap interview or whatsoever. But the target audience which comes there goes also to concerts of Travis Scott or so. With Havana Club, we are more based to what can you do more with a rum, which means cocktail area. So we build a crazy cocktail area where you can drink, where you can eat slush puppies with Havana Club, and you can just see what Havana Club is all about. Last year we did, for the 15 years of Tomorrowland, we've made a 15-year-old Havana Club special limited edition. This year we don't have a limited edition, but we just have a very nice, big cocktail area where you can just chill around, have a drink, try something else, eat an ice cream of Havana Club. It's just a different way to get in touch with the same target audience. But again, with so many different target audiences and so many different cultures, it's too hard to pick one thing.
But because how do you have a target audience?
Yeah.
But you also say that it's difficult to.
At Tomorrowland it is.
Yeah. But how do you define what works for the audience of Tomorrowland then?
I think it's to be honest, I think it's undefinable. I think that you have to do what is close to you as a brand. So for example, that reverse artist thing now with Absolut is really where we stand for. For like, everybody knows the rainbow bottle of Absolut, and there's a bit where it comes from. So with Absolut it's a bit easier. For Havana Club, it's just a very important moment of consumption. And it's also not that expensive because the deal is already paid for. So for Havana Club, it's a good moment of consumption, so a good way of activate there. And again, it's very hard to really pinpoint your target audience at Tomorrowland, because it's the Efteling for elderly.
Yeah, exactly. So again, also I can imagine that at Tomorrowland, especially in the case of Havana, then it's more about creating that drinking moment rather than really adding to your branding, except for the fact that you're with the big motherfuckers, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Being with the big motherfuckers is an important goal, I imagine.
Depends a bit what your strategy is, of course.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to sort of head towards to. Where does this start? Because you didn't always collaborate with Tomorrowland. There was a certain point in which there was the idea, let's look for new partnerships or whatever, and then Tomorrowland.
Yeah, everything starts a bit with when you're gonna build a new strategy within just internally.
Yeah.
So I think it was 5 years ago when we sort of said, okay, festival industry is getting a thing. Before 5 years ago, the whole festival market was in hands of just two brands. It was Bacardi and Smirnoff. You saw no other spirit anywhere. So, and that changed a bit, I think, 5 years ago, where we said, okay, maybe we have to look into festivals, and maybe we have to look into the possibility, especially Dutch festivals, because the target audience in Dutch festivals is easier to pinpoint than in Belgium, because it's way more. In Belgium, all of the festivals have like 5 stages and 5 different kinds of music.
Yeah.
So it's always a sort of mix of people. So we start with, okay, maybe we want to look into the possibility of working with festivals, which is in Belgium, from a commercial perspective, so profit perspective, better to work with than in the Netherlands. Because in the Netherlands, for the people who don't know, you can't serve above a certain ABV, which is the percentage of alcohol in a drink, and it can't be above 14.9% in the Netherlands. That's from a health security reason, I don't know. And in Belgium, they don't care.
Yeah.
Which means you can serve high ABVs, you can serve whatever you want. And that also means more volume, and for us, more profit. So it starts a bit with that, to come back to your question. So it starts a bit that you see opportunities, okay, people drink at festivals. They have, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them just want to have a nice time. And that can be with a lot of alcohol, that can be without alcohol, but it's always a good way to look into that. And then the good thing then is with Tomorrowland is that every brand wants to be at Tomorrowland. So for us, it's just, okay, let's try to get in touch with Tomorrowland. That's the first thing. Then when they sort of bait on your swing, then you open the conversation as in, how do you guys see a partnerships? What are your volume prognosis for this year? And then from a commercial perspective, we can already think, okay, they're gonna do a X amount of liters. We can give there a fee of and then we already have asked them what are the possibilities for brands to push at Tomorrowland. So we sort of have a package, and the bigger organizations like Tomorrowland, they already have worked it out. They can just send you a file. The smaller ones, you have to sort of pull it out of them. And then you have a package, and then with that package, you're just gonna go to the brands internally. So, hey, we have the possibility to do Tomorrowland. What do you think?
Yeah.
They sell this from a commercial perspective. We can do this, and you with Havana Club can claim the cocktail area. And for that claim, you get also cups, and you get crew shirts, and you get brand visibility in the comfort VIP places. And so you build a sort of package, and we build that strategy always with the same module, and that's a RPVAA model. It's a model what we use, and it's a marketing model, and it stands for relation, presence, visibility, activation, and amplification. And when you have sort of all these elements, and you have literally walked through all these questions, for us it's just a list with questions, then you have the full package of what a festival is all about.
Yeah.
And then we send that to a Tomorrowland. We send that internally. Always Tomorrowland asks for example, 3 million. We say 100,000 euros. There's a difference. And then we get in this, and then we get in touch with each other from, okay, who wants to do what, and for what price.
Yeah. So in the Netherlands, everything that you do on festivals is basically an investment, rather than in Belgium and the rest of the world, I guess. You can actually make money with these partnerships.
Spirits in the Netherlands are using festivals purely as a communication tool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy. The only brands which earn money or can earn money, let's say like that, are brands like Heineken and Coca-Cola. Or Chaudfontaine with water or whatsoever.
Whatever,
but for spirits, it's undoable. Yeah, because of that ABV difference.
Yeah.
The simple calculation is that because of you have to go to 14.9%, every liter of any spirit, you have to multiply that with 3. Why?
Yeah.
When you have a 40% liter spirit whatsoever of vodka, and you have to go to 40.9, you have to put like 2 liters of water extra, and then you come to a certain amount what you can serve at a festival.
Crazy.
So, for example, when we would serve 30,000 liters at Tomorrowland, then for a Dutch festival it would only be 10. But
Crazy.
the amount of drinks is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not that you sell less.
No.
It's just that you sell in less.
How drunk were you when you went to a Belgian festival for the first
Yeah,
time?
it's really strange. And the strange thing is that the first few years that you go to festivals in the Netherlands, you have no idea.
No.
You don't get really drunk.
No.
And now you know why.
Yeah, exactly. You're being scammed, basically.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's our government.
Yeah.
And in Belgium,
Again.
But in Belgium they don't care, man.
No, crazy.
So what I was wondering is, what does it do with the loyalty and the awareness amongst the target group when you activate at a Tomorrowland? You just told that it has the biggest traffic of all events in the world online, for example. Do you see a certain reaction in numbers of volume which
in Belgium it's let's say it like this, I was very skeptical firstly. Why? Tomorrowland is of course the biggest festival in the world, or one of the biggest festivals in the world.
Yeah.
But it's very commercial, it's very broad. You have 21 stages with 21 different kind of musics with the biggest artists. They just come plug and play 45 minutes and they get like millions for that. So it wasn't really sort of the fit I really saw with our brands.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands, that's a bit easier to do. But the thing is, what we see, or at least I was skeptical, not anymore. In Belgium, we really see after Tomorrowland, the sales of our brands, they're like
Really?
sky high. 40%
Just in liquor stores or
in the liquor stores, yeah. So especially in places like Belgium, France, and Germany, because these are still the 3 biggest nationalities in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
We see, I think, up to 8 to 10 weeks after the festival, we see really a peak moment.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy. Especially under our sort of ages, you see a big peak. In the Netherlands, it's a bit different because in the Netherlands, we're quite skeptical and it's only 13% of the people at Tomorrowland are Dutchies. So it's around the corner. Especially people from the industry, they think, okay, Tomorrowland, not for me. You come there, you've never felt or ever imagined something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's no festival which is better organized than Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
For example, they started last week already with building. It's the 3rd weekend of July. They built for 2.5 months, guys.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
An average Dutch festival is built in 7 days.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Not Lowlands. Lowlands have, I think, 5 weeks or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But 2.5 months.
That is crazy.
That's insane.
A partnership like Tomorrowland, how do you exploit that media-wise? Because obviously the people are there. You just mentioned you're going to do a lot of advertisement on socials, I guess, and perhaps even other media outlets. How do you exploit that whole partnership?
That's a bit how we include the brand owners, so the Absoluts and Havana Clubs Internationals. Why? It's for us, we don't really need that online support for the Benelux.
No.
For them, they want to scream about to the whole world that they have a collaboration with Tomorrowland. So how we sort of come to that, it's really hard because Tomorrowland is an organized machine, so it's a lot of back and forth. But in the end, we have a media person from Tomorrowland, we have a media person from Absolut or Havana Club who says, I'm going to do an online campaign, which is fine. I am just there together with my colleague Jurgen to sort of keep control on budgets and branding and whatsoever. And then they say, for example, Absolut says, I want to spend $1 million on online advertising. And then Tomorrowland say, $1 million is too much, because then you're going to spend more than us. And then Tomorrowland looks like it's from Absolut.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. You can do 250,000 euros. Okay, so then you're going to call your media agency. Can we do 250,000 euros on Tomorrowland advertising? Yeah, it can. And then these two media guys, they give it again to someone else, which are making content and whatsoever. They need to come back together. We are again there in that call to keep control. And then you come to content, and then they push it.
You're mediating the shit out of these partnerships.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that it almost sounds like you're sort of matchmaking Absolut and Tomorrowland together whilst you're basically working for Absolut. But is that because they have this sort of separate, the whole marketing is still...
That is because things like Tomorrowland are so conceptual, which means that you sort of have to do it their way. Because you have to be glad that you're there. And that's really what it is. Because we never want to lose this partnership again. Not only for the money, but it's just the global power it has online and offline is insane.
Yeah.
So it's a bit what you're saying. It's sort of that you're combining each other. Yeah. In the end, we're glad and very happy that Tomorrowland gets us the opportunity. Yeah. But we do it their way. Yeah. Because these guys are the boss in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is what it is.
And that's different from other festivals? Because this one is very conceptual, so you adjust to their wishes. But and how's that with other festivals?
You see that the bigger, longer lasting festivals where you're working with, so for example with digital as well, that you work more through them, or at least they are making the content. You are just sharing your MBA, which is sort of the deck from all the look and feels and whatever you can do as a brand. You share that and they make the content. They use your logos, they send it to you as a sort of double check. And the smaller festivals, especially in Holland, they never want to do any logos or online. In Belgium is a bit different. You can do a lot more because the Belgian people like to identify themselves with brands. In the Netherlands, it's something what comes now, but in Belgium, it's very normal. So they like to work with brands and logos and silhouettes and whatsoever. But in the Netherlands, it's different. It's really different. And for example, our collaboration with Absolut and Digital is that on that part, there's way more possible because these guys are just an organized machine. Yeah. And yeah, that brings a lot more opportunity, which also, and that is something what I sometimes, or at least the industry sometimes forget, that also brings a lot more money on the table. Because when we can do something online, it helps us.
Yeah, of course.
The most resultful activations online are still win ticket actions.
Really?
Yeah, because people want to go to sold out events. Yeah. It's hype. And crazy. On a strange way, all these festivals don't want that. So we do it for Tomorrowland, we do it for digital or whatsoever. But the smaller festivals, they don't want it.
Why not?
Yeah, I think to keep a bit their conceptual feeling. And I understand it in a certain way because when you do something like that, you're gonna be pushed on Instagram stories and black posts everywhere. Yeah. The question is, do you want that as your festival?
No, apparently they don't.
No, and I can sort of imagine that.
Yeah. Tomorrowland, third weekend of July you mentioned.
It is the first weekend is the weekend of 16, 17, 18 of July.
Yeah, they have 3 weekends.
And they have 3 weekends this year, yeah, for the first time.
What does the upcoming weeks for you sort of entail, looking into this partnership?
So we are working a lot with their new festival, which is next week. They launched a festival together with Rockwerter called Core, a festival in Brussels. So we're now still very busy with that. But literally the Monday after that festival, we have a first meeting how we're gonna dress up all the bars, for example. But we are already, I think we have a weekly update meeting or with Havana Club International or with Absolut International to already build on the activation. We're gonna do a win ticket activation in the Netherlands in one of our clubs and in Belgium also in one of our clubs. with artists from Tomorrowland playing here,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So we're now very busy with that, the big stuff. But from Monday on, we will more include in detail. So, for example, they have more than 100 bars over there. How many ice buckets for a bar? That's of course not up to me. That is something what my I hate the word my team, but my colleague does. But that is a bit where we're now at the point. So the deal's already made. We have another deal. We have a deal for 5 years, so we're fine. The only thing what we need to do is make sure that all the POS is good again. That the narrow castings in the screens are good again. That the cups are good. That the menu cards are good. That the crew clothing is good. So we're now gonna go into that project. Especially because of COVID, everything has a very long delivery date. So plastic, glass is biggest problems at the moment. So, for example, normally when you order a glass, you have it like in 6 to 8 weeks. Now we are waiting for 18, 19 weeks or something like that.
That's crazy.
For the same glass. Yeah.
So you probably ordered when everything was still in lockdown, not even knowing if it's...
That, and China has just, or China and Portugal are a bit the big supplying company of countries, and Turkey as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, they have also there I don't know how many countries in the world, but everybody ordered at the same time after COVID stopped. So you sort of get back in the line always. The good thing is that with Tomorrowland, they sort of can make it happen, of course, one way or another.
Yeah.
But we're now at that point that we finalize now all designs. So that's a bit what we did now, and now we're going to do ordering and make sure that they get it in their warehouse, because everything with Tomorrowland has to go first in their warehouse. They're going to double check, double count, and then they bring it to Boom, which is next to Antwerp, to the festival site. So that's a bit where we are now at the point. And on step by step, you come close to the festival, and it's not that you get more work, your work just changes, because we have, I think, 125 people flying from all over the world just to Antwerp. So you have to make sure that all of the hospitality is taken care of. Restaurants are booked, flights are booked, taxis are booked, that they're at the festival. The big chiefs of Tomorrowland of Pernod Ricard are coming. I don't know who, but for example, Alexander Ricard, the CEO of Tomorrowland globally, it can be that he comes, then I need to be there as well as head of partnerships for the Benelux, and my colleague and my CEO from the Netherlands. And it's a game, to be honest. It feels a bit like a game, but step by step you come close to the festival. With the big festivals, when you get close to the festival, it's not that you are more busy.
No.
With the smaller festivals, you have to do a lot more yourself, which means close to the festival, you have to do a lot more.
Yeah.
But these organized companies, it's a difference.
Yeah. Sounds good. Exciting.
Yeah, exciting, definitely. Are there any questions from the people in the audience?
I was wondering, how do you track the performance of an activation that you have done at any festival? Because you have these different types of things that you do. For example, the cup in the hand that you said, but then you also track the sales, the online presence. So how do you combine these different things, and how do you measure if that activation has reached its goal?
The good question, by the way. What you're saying is true. So you build it on sales, you build it on how many people were at your experience or at your bar in order to drink. Some festivals, for example, like Tomorrowland, they can also track how many people are walking behind, standing still, go into the activation, how long are they there, a bit how you track online advertisement as well. Online advertisement is trackable, someone opens an ad, and you can literally see in your data how long is he looking at this ad or at this video. And that's a bit how we can work that out on Tomorrowland as well. But it's for other festivals, it's just purely based on how many people, how many serves, how many bottles, which is different for Belgium and the Netherlands. And then from that part, you sort of see how many people got in touch with your brand. Literally exactly the same how it is in advertisement. Only then physical.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Very factual. Not very based on sort of feelings or emotions.
The festival or at least the event industry is it's really an industry at the moment. So you're running a company. Yeah. It's not that you do just giving a party or do an activation. Everything needs to have a return on investment or needs to be reported or needs to be whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because when we don't do that or don't track it, you're gonna maybe spend money on
Yeah.
something which doesn't bring you extra sales or doesn't bring you extra people or doesn't grow your community or doesn't grow your target audience. So that's, everything is based on a fact or at a number.
Yeah.
Strange enough. But it is.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. It's just that, you know, when you talk about branding and brand activation, what sort of comes to mind with me straight away is it's more about emotions rather than data.
Yeah.
But in the end, the data is the only factual stuff that you have.
That's a bit what people, and especially, and I love my parents, but especially people like my parents, they think that we just throw parties and get people drunk. And that
Which you
is
do.
our job, which I do. But everything is based on numbers.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend and I are always making the same fun. So I do this work already for 6 years, and my dad literally still knows only my title.
Yeah.
He has no freaking clue what I'm doing.
No.
And then he tries to explain it to someone,
Doesn't work.
and the story gets stupider and stupider every year. So it's people forget how big the event industry is, especially in the Netherlands and Belgium. It's our biggest export product at the moment is events.
Yeah, it's crazy.
With CEOs flying all over the world, having DJs all over the world, having music companies all over the world. Every big music company in the world has a Dutch CEO or a Dutch CMO or whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's one of our biggest export products what we have, and that is something what people really forget.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, hey, we're gonna throw parties, but
Yeah.
also students really think that they're gonna, for example, do event management or whatsoever, and they think, okay, I'm gonna start an event company and I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. You have to do it step by step. It's a company.
Yeah.
They work for Tomorrowland. I think there work 175 people on a full-time basis for 3 weekends,
That's crazy, man.
and that's it.
That's a lot.
For just 1 month, they work with 175 people, and of course there are a lot of freelancers and etc.
Yeah,
etc.
of course.
But a lot of them are just working 40 hours a week for just that 3 weekends, and that is something which people don't see.
No, they don't understand.
They don't understand. So also as a student, really understand the industry and do it step by step, and don't take nothing for granted.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Other questions? No?
You can call me, email me for later questions.
Nice. All right. Good way to round it off then, I guess. Do you have another question?
No, I think this is a nice thing to wrap it up with.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks
No
for
worries.
being here, and just a round of applause.